Hey guys, Creator Mom, happy Sunday. So, I got sent this book, Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, and I got the workbook too. I started reading the workbook. It's really good, but I stopped at a question. I hate these workbook questions because they kind of make you have to dig deep in a way and, maybe bring up something that was painful, but anyway, it's for a purpose, so yeah, I'm like committing to, I am going to commit to stopping and actually taking time to answer the questions and journal them down, because that's the whole point, right? Like, I could read through it, but the whole point is to think through some things. Anyways, I just wanted to share this passage here in chapter 1. I thought was interesting. So she says, I guess I'll read from the top. Chapter 1 is called How Emotionally Immature Parents Affect Their Adult Children's Lives. And she talks about emotional loneliness. And I was like, wow. I thought to myself, she talks a lot about emotional loneliness. I'm like, I don't think I was emotionally lonely. And then when I think about it, I'm like, shit. I think I might have been emotionally lonely. I spent a lot of time in my room because, I don't know. I think that's where I felt safe, Anyways, emotional loneliness comes from not having enough emotional intimacy with other people. It can start in childhood due to feeling emotionally unseen by self-preoccupied parents, or it can arise in adulthood when an emotional connection is lost. If it's been a lifelong feeling, it points to the likelihood of not being sufficiently emotionally responded to as a child. Growing up in a family with emotionally immature parents is a lonely experience. These parents may look and act perfectly normal, caring for their child's physical health and providing meals and safety. However, if they don't make a solid emotional connection with their child, the child will have a gaping hole where true security might have been. And that's where I kind of just wanted to read, because I thought to myself, because, well, you've heard, it's said a lot of parents, when they're, if a child or adult child comes to them with an issue and just says, like, you were never there for me, or, some type of complaint or blame, which can be really hard, I bet, to hear as a parent, especially if as a parent you feel like you tried hard or something. But I could see how a parent would think, well, what do you mean? I provided for you, like, all these, I gave you food every day. I made sure you were educated and got schooled, and I made sure you were safe and kept safe. I put clothes on your back, I took care of you, but I guess those things don't necessarily relate safety to a child. Which is interesting, because I've always thought of these situations where, like, parents are, like, good enough and maybe they have a hard time providing things, or maybe they live in a ghetto neighborhood. Like, a parent might say, well, what do you mean? I gave you the best of the best. I made sure we always lived in good neighborhoods and you went to good schools, and, but then you have a child who maybe grows up in the hood, around drug dealers, and they get into things, but their parent is, like, emotionally connected with them. It's almost as if sometimes they end up better off and in a better relationship with their parent than the latter. I don't know. It, like, that's the message I feel like I've always gotten, that, like, the circumstances, they do matter, but they don't matter as much as you're keeping your emotional connection with your child, and your child feels emotionally safe with you. I guess when, as adults, sometimes we think, oh, no, the priority is physical survival, right? Like, no, you go to the best schools, I provided for you, you got clothes on your back. but yeah, mom or dad, but I didn't feel emotionally safe with you. And that, I guess that for a child is where the feeling of safety comes from. So physical things I guess they don't necessarily translate into that feeling of safety, and security from a parent. I mean, it's probably both elements, but I guess the emotional element is the most important thing, is priority. Because you can have all the things, but no emotional, but have that, no, and then maybe well-off people grow up with anxiety and depression and shit, but they're confused because they're like, well, what the hell? Like, my parent provided for me. I can't say that they abused me or physically neglected me, but it's more than that. For a child, and I guess for an adult to grow up feeling that security and safety, you've had to have had that emotional connection with your parent. It would have needed to be emotionally safe with the parent. And this is why I love unschooling. This is why I love the idea of unschooling, because unschooling prioritizes the relational and emotional connection between you and your children. It's the priority, not reading, not math. Those things are priorities or whatever. They are important things, but they are not the priority. The priority is the relationship, the emotional connection, the validation, the reflecting back to your child their gifts and talents and things like that, and how wonderful they are, in my opinion. Yeah, like validating them and stuff. Seeing the best in them, assuming the best, even in rough times when your child is acting in ways that are challenging, and that can be challenging. Parenting is challenging, and pointing out emotionally immature parenting isn't about the whole reason for this book is to help people like me and all people, heal and essentially self-differentiate and move forward with their own life in a healthy way. And reading this book probably can help me become a better parent too, like a good enough parent, let's just say that way. I love that phrase. Jay Reed uses that phrase, a good enough parent, But I guess people think sometimes, oh, well, my parent was good enough because they provided for me. But yeah, but they were narcissistic emotionally, you know what I mean? You couldn't develop a safe connection because it wasn't safe with them. So then you ended up emotionally lonely as a child. You had nobody. Oh, there's another. This is in the workbook though. Hold on a sec. Yeah, like you had nobody to turn to. In the workbook it says something like, when you grow up feeling like you are safe and like you have someone to turn to any time, you have someone to turn to. If you're an adult child of a narcissistic parent, you don't have that. You feel like there is nobody to turn to. Yeah, sure, your parent is there, but they're like, in my opinion, they're like the last, which now it's not like that for me. Now I have consciously had to change that. But before I made the conscious decision to go in the direction that I'm going, like say, a few years ago or whatever, like I wasn't ready yet for no contact, but my mother would have been the last person that I could, it's just like, don't reach out unless the situation is really bad. Like you really have nowhere to turn to, no one to turn to for help, because that their help comes with a cost, and you really have to decide if you're ready to pay that cost or not. And I guess that the situation you're in has to outweigh, you're going to be willing to take that cost. for what it costs to stay maybe in a bad situation that you're in, but which is a bad relationship that is a pattern of the original relationship. Whatever, what a cycle. But anyways, yeah, it's all about breaking the cycle and healing and developing better relationships and stuff like that. So yeah, just really interesting stuff. Just, it's emotional connection and safety that helps the child feel safe, not necessarily the physical stuff, because you can have all the physical stuff and then not have that feeling. Anyways, maybe I'll share here and there in the book, but that's all I wanted to share for today. Happy Sunday.